Rinkrats, it's been a minute. What's going on? Welcome back. Happy to have you join us tonight. It is May 21st, 2025. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 30. 30th episode of the season, guys. Think about 30 years ago. It was 1995. I was still in high school. I don't know if Jimmy or Sean were, you guys were alive.
I was in grade school.
There you go.
Yeah.
High school. I had a baby Bard.
I was -4 years old.
-4. Yeah. At any rate, happy episode 30. There's a lot going on in the NHL and in the Blackhawk world. So thank you for joining us. Guys, how you doing tonight? How is everything? Bardo, how you been?
All good.
Good. Shawnee, what's up?
I'm good. Wearing a Bloomington Bison hat of the ECHL. They're affiliated.
Not a Martin Biron hat.
Not a Martin Biron hat. They are affiliated with the New York Rangers. I'm surprised Bardo didn't know that.
I did not.
Yeah, so shout out to my nephew for getting me a Bloomington Illinois Bison hat.
There we go. Awesome. Jimmy, what's your take? What's going on, man? How are things?
Things are going well. Good news on my front. Lease starts next Saturday. You're going to be seeing a new background very soon. New place to live.
Congrats, buddy. Very exciting.
Nice. All right, we'll see the YMCA. Got it.
Wow.
Good one, Sean.
At any rate, speaking of happy news and happy thoughts, the Blackhawks are set to make a coaching hire. Sounds like it's going to happen. It is everything but official at this point, is what it sounds like. That tomorrow might be the day where the Chicago Blackhawks announce that their next head coach, Jeff Blashill, he comes with a boatload of experience. He's most recently been on the Tampa Bay Lightning bench, hopefully learning a lot from John Cooper. He's got a pretty good USHL resume. He was the Detroit Red Wings head coach during some very, very dark times for them. Some very lean years. He didn't have a whole lot to work with. So how are we feeling, boys? Bardo, how you feeling? Not too high, not too low? Where are we at?
I think that's exactly what it is. I'm kind of very much in the middle, taking a wait and see approach. We saw his NHL record is not great, albeit again with a rebuilding Detroit team and one that really did not have a lot of talent. But he's won at every other level, and I like the fact that he went and coached for a winner, coached under John Cooper, and now he's getting his second chance. So I also think I do have a preference of giving a coach a second chance versus going for a college coach, because if you look at the stats, the numbers back it up that coaches that tend to do better on their second NHL job versus college coaches making that jump. So I prefer him over David Carl. It may not be the popular decision, but I do have that preference. So I'll take a wait and see approach. I'm willing to give him a chance, see what he does, and hope for the best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't. When he was in Detroit, things were a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were Blackhawk level mess from the last few years. I mean, they were just starting. Dylan Larkin was a new draft pick. It was not a good scene. So now he's gone to a different culture. And Shawnee, do you think being in Tampa Bay, being in that winning environment, being under a guy like John Cooper, you might pick up a thing or two? And will that help?
Yeah, I hope it does. I think it's more of like an apprenticeship program almost, because he ran the power play and the defensive unit, I believe is what it was for Tampa. Cooper obviously is well respected, a great coach, won 2 cups. And I think with Blashill's experience, I mean, he was a college coach, AHL coach, and then he had that disaster with the Red Wings, which wasn't his fault. So I think going under like a proven winner, seeing how success happens, and bringing that, like, he's dealt with younger players and kind of coached younger players before. Now you get to see what it's like to coach at like the top talent. Like people have written that watching Cooper coach Kucherov could help Blashill coach a talent like Connor Bedard. So I think that's a great thing that he worked for Cooper.
Yeah. No, that's a pretty good take. Jimmy, how are you feeling about this? I mean, this guy's coached at a number of different levels. He's been a college hockey assistant coach, USHL. Obviously we just talked about his Detroit experience, but what are your concerns, I guess? I mean, are you pleased in one regard? And then what would you be worried about? What are your hesitations?
I mean, I think the reservation really is just, it's kind of a milquetoast hire, pretty average. doesn't really jump off the page, but I think that's kind of what the Blackhawks were kind of going for. I don't think they're overly invested in this head coach being the guy in 5-10 years. I'd love to say Jeff Blashill is the John Cooper hire, like John Cooper was, but I'm not putting a lot of stake in it. Once David Carl went back to the University of Denver, I knew this next head coach was probably going to be the transition coach. You know, my 3 favorite targets were David Carl, Mike Sullivan, and Rick Tocchet, and they're all hired.
They're all going somewhere.
They're all going somewhere else. And so at this point, it kind of became, okay, whoever was hired is not going to blow me away. You know, it's not going to look sexy on paper. But when it comes to, you know, Blashill, a lot of things I think about is he's had a great track record of young players in the USHL and the AHL. I mean, he was a menace with the Grand Rapids Griffins when he was coach there. He was great with the young guys. And then he was brought up to the NHL at a really weird time with the Detroit Red Wings. They were still continuing their playoff streak at all costs, and it cost the team, as we saw. And by the time his tenure ended, the team had Steve Yzerman in charge, and everything changed. And he went away. He went to be with Tampa Bay. And I mean, you can't learn under a better modern coach than John Cooper. And Sean, you mentioned him being in charge of the power play. I mean, it must have worked because this year Tampa Bay's power play was 25.9%, 5th in the league. Penalty kill, 6th in the league. So if he's in charge of the defensive unit and power play, he's got some good numbers to back him up. Yeah. So I think that's what the Blackhawks saw. They saw that he won when he was with, you know, young developing players. He got kind of a weird situation in Detroit where he came in expected to win with a pretty mediocre talent group and was kind of forced into pushing a round peg of the current Red Wings into a square hole of contention, and just didn't work. Yeah. And he gets to be under John Cooper. And Bard, you mentioned coaches doing better on the second chance. I made a tweet about this earlier today. 2 head coaches in the league currently where they did that exact thing. Mike Sullivan, he was the Boston Bruins head coach in the mid-2000s, only lasted 2 years, didn't work. Another guy, Bruce Cassidy, he was a head coach of the Washington Capitals for 2 years, didn't work. You know, went back, worked on his craft as an assistant and throughout the league, and now they're both back, and they're both probably some of the best coaches in the NHL. So maybe this is that, you know, situation for Blashill where he got a bad start, he goes away, he takes an assistant coach role, really good head coach, and shows effectiveness and when he's given responsibility in Tampa. And maybe this is his second chance with an up-and-coming team where the pressure isn't to make the playoffs, to grow with the team and see if he can be that guy. So I'm the more I talk about it, the more I talk myself into it, and I think it's a pretty decent hire.
Kind of have to at this point, yeah. The
other guy who I think is on job number 2 for him as a head coach is Scott O'Neill, isn't he? Wasn't he Columbus, and then he went now to Winnipeg, and now look at them. They've been great the last few years. He doesn't have a cup, but you know, I think a lot of teams would probably hire him. Yeah. So
I mean, Jeff Blashill is 51 years old. You know, and his first coaching job was in the 1999-2000 season as an assistant coach at Ferris State when they were in the CCHA. I mean, this guy, he just finished his 26th year of coaching and his 10th year in the NHL. 6 of those have been as a head coach, and the last 4 have been in Tampa Bay. And a lot of people are saying this is a bad hire. I don't think it's bad. You know, it's indicative of what the market was, I guess you could say. I mean, a lot of the big names, Jimmy, as you mentioned, the 3 names that you know, guys like Tocchet, you know, Sullivan and Carl, you know, aren't available, and those were the 3 big names. And then you either wait for another recycled head coach. I mean, at one point, people were even talking about Bruce Boudreau. It's like, come on. Like, don't do that. I mean, at least have someone who's been in it for a little bit.
Wasn't everybody talking about Woodcroft too?
Woodcroft, and he's still out there.
Yeah,
he still hasn't done the job. I mean, if it was Woodcroft, it'd be great too. But at the same time, this wasn't a panic hire. This wasn't done without due diligence. I'm sure, Jimmy, to your point about the special teams, particularly the power play, when you're bringing up a young team with a high offensive upside and a lot of skilled players, you want that guy. You want to make sure that your special teams are cooking. So,
And I mean, who else really was out there who has NHL experience? Like I heard, what's his name? Strum was Marco Sturm.
Marco Sturm, yeah.
Marco Sturm.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the big thing on my wish list was a coach, was a guy with NHL experience, and Blashill has it.
He's right here.
For better or for worse. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, all it takes is, if we're going to talk about the UFA market a little bit later in the show, but all it takes is, some phone calls for guys that had a really good experience in Tampa Bay to some of the players saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about Chicago. What do you think of this guy?" They're like, "We love him." Mm-hmm. He did wonders for us. So, I don't know. I mean, the jury's obviously out. You don't want. I mean, he's going to be there probably for at least 3 years.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the minimum sample size, I guess, before we can form an opinion. The team will be better by then. Will they be where they need to be? I don't know. But I don't, it's not we said, maybe it was Sean who said it or Jimmy, it's not the sexiest hire in the world.
No.
It certainly doesn't, it's not a bumper sticker name. No. Joe Quenneville is off to Anaheim. That's a big bumper sticker name for them. The Blackhawks didn't do that, but it doesn't necessarily mean doomsday either.
And look, who knows? Could he be here for a decade? Could he be here for 3 years? Who knows? It's all of that is on the table. I hate to bring up age, but like the thing is with Boudreau, I'm not in love with him as a head coach, but he's old. He's up there.
I think he's like 100. I feel like he's so old.
Oh yeah, no, you can't do that.
You can't do that. So it's
Lewis on the White Sox can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like this guy sounds, at least he's relatable. So I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good. Well, good luck to you, Jeff. I think that the announcement will probably be sometime tomorrow. And that's pretty exciting. And we'll see, big news in Chicago hockey land. We are going to get into the draft in a few minutes, but while we're still talking red hot about the NHL, why don't we just stay with that for a minute, if that's cool? Let's talk about the UFA market, the pending UFA market. And let's also just talk about Toronto for a little bit, since that is, there's not a movie that you've seen on repeat this often where everyone still wants to watch an ending the way that it does. I don't know what it is about people wanting to see a Toronto demise, or like the fascination with Toronto just falling apart. But the rate that they've been losing game sevens is unprecedented. What is it? 5 straight, 8 straight? I don't even know.
They haven't won a game 7 in 20 years.
Haven't won a game 7 in 20 years.
Yeah, it was like 2004.
Oh, if you include 2020 game 5, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 7 win or go home games that they've lost. I think the odds of that, someone calculated, it's 1 in 345.
Yeah, it's astounding how bad.
It's a team overloaded with talent. It just clearly doesn't have the right mix. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I there's a lot of people out there too. I'd love to hear what you guys think. That, I think it was Matthew Tkachuk when he was on Spit and Chicklets was like, look, I don't have to play in Toronto. We play in Florida. I don't have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff. Do you believe in that, or is it kind of, hey, they're professionals, you got to do it? Bardo, what do you think? I'd be really curious what you think.
I think Toronto and Montreal are huge pressure cookers. I mean, people like to say New York is a pressure cooker, and maybe it is, but not for hockey. Baseball, it probably is, but it really isn't for hockey. So, but for Toronto and Montreal fans, given the expectations that both of those organizations tend to have on them, right now Montreal's in the midst of a rebuild, but when Toronto is good and they get to a game 7 at home and you lose the way you lose, you're going to have your feet held to the fire. Yeah. So, and it's justified. They were a higher seed and they had every opportunity to do it. Their last 2 home games, game 5 and game 7, they got their doors blown off.
Yeah.
So,
what's so fascinating about it, though, is that even with their demise, it's almost like Florida's not getting the credit that they deserve for being an absolute wagon. That game 7 was.
It was Seth Jones' best game as a professional, probably. It
was ridiculous.
Yeah, he was the best. He was one of the best players on the ice.
Well, but also what they've done with their lineup. They found a role now for AJ Greer, who has been this unbelievable effective fourth liner. They've said we need to mix this up. We need guys that are going to, be effective there. He's been unbelievable.
You talk about a head coach that's been around the block, but look at what he's done.
I don't, and I totally don't understand Sergei Bobrovsky. How the time comes, he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna start doing this now.
Yeah.
Going back to what Bardo said about playing in Canada, Brian Burke brought it up in his book saying, guys, like if they had trade clauses, like they were like, do not trade me to any of the Canadian teams. I want out of Canada. Like that's how hard it is for Canadian players. And he was only the general. He was at the time when he wrote that, he was the general manager of Vancouver. He was in the GM of Toronto as well. And he said, like, it's insane the amount of pressure they have in that market. So,
well, and then you have all these teams like, the Tampa Bays and the Floridas and Dallas and Vegas, they're all doing so well where it's like,
it's a hockey crazy environment.
I have to be honest. I even mentioned Yankees and baseball. I can't think of one team in any of the four major sports that is like Toronto in terms of the pressure. I almost equate Toronto's pressure to something like some sort of a European soccer team, like that kind of, or like a national team or something like that. Like you screw up 1 year, like if you're expected to go undefeated, you get one loss, they fire you. I mean, that's like a European soccer team. I don't think there's a pro sports team in the U.S. that's like that, even close.
Well, now the New York Islanders have been given permission to talk to Brendan Shanahan.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Are they literally following the Maple Leafs blueprint? We bring in Lou, it didn't work. Now we're going to bring in Shanahan.
Well, I don't know. Wasn't Shanahan the one that vetoed the Marner trade where they were trying to get Ranton in, and Shanahan said no, we're going to stick with this.
Oh, probably.
It was back with Dubas. Like Kyle Dubas
was back with Dubas
before his no movement clause kicked in.
Wow.
Well, remember with Shanahan, he also has ties to the tri-state area, having played. I think he played with the Devils for years, and came back and played with the Rangers. So I think his wife is from here also.
Would he be the GM or would he be the president?
He would be the president. So they would
hire Bergevin as lead candidate for GM.
Right.
Mark Bergevin.
They end up going with Bergevin instead of Darsh.
It's the lead candidate. All signs point to Bergevin.
Yeah, Bergevin and Darsh are the two finalists.
So everyone who's complaining about the Hawks picking a recycled candidate, every candidate in the NHL for any position is recycled.
Yeah, it's that way in pro sports everywhere.
Yeah, it's just
everywhere. That's sports.
Yeah. It's so.
I mean,
you must be new.
We'd hear the same.
I'm new to athletics.
We'd hear the new complaints if it wasn't a recycled coach. We'd be like, oh my gosh, we're hiring this Strum guy who has no head coaching experience. Really, we're going another coach with no experience. I mean, it'd be the opposite way.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, pick your argument. Really. Yeah, same deal. Well, to that end, I mean, it sounds like there's one Maple Leaf who will not be returning, and that's Mitch Marner. Now, what did he say yesterday? He made a comment in an interview where it sounds like he's as good as gone.
Yeah, he said,
he kind of alluded to, all right, it's been fun. I've loved my time here.
Yeah, he said, I loved playing here. I loved my time here. So it's like, past tense.
Yeah, past tense. So with that, what is absolutely bonkers is, I mean, Mitch Marner is going to be one of the hottest free agents. He's a 27-year-old 100-point scorer. And you got Blackhawks fans out there being like, well, we don't want this guy.
He doesn't perform in the playoffs.
Oh, he chokes at the wrong time. Is this Mickey Mouse stuff, James?
It's a luxury we don't have to worry about. Like, if the worst part about a player is his game 5 through 7 performance, which is bad. I am saying it's bad. He has 0 goals in 20 career games 5, 6, and 7. It's bad. I'm not going to deny it. But that is such a luxury to complain about. This guy has 5 career years of over 85 points. This year he reached a 100-point eclipse. The guy is a Selke Award winner finalist. He's still in games 1 through 4 of the playoffs. He still performs really, really well. Yeah. And we've mentioned it before. Maybe this game 5 through 7 thing, first off, you look at the entire core 4, it's the exact same trend. They all really struggle games 5, 6, and 7.
Matthews has been terrible.
Matthews is awful. Nylander is like the only one that's almost a point per game in games 5, 6, and 7. But
Then he goes
Matthews,
through a skate every now and then.
Yeah, he's a
Matthews, Tavares, and Marner have horrifically bad statistical games, 5, 6, and 7s.
Yeah.
So, that being said, maybe it's a market thing. Maybe it's a pressure thing. Maybe he gets the 5, 6, and 7 and he feels it. He feels the footsteps. He hears the ghost. He freaks out. Maybe it gets to him. Maybe a change of scenery. He gets the Blackhawks 3 years from now. We're in a game 6 and he plays well. I'm not closing the door on him. I think it'd be foolish. Even at his asking price, it's going to be foolish considering how exponentially large the salary cap is going to grow as his contract continues. This isn't COVID year anymore. We're not going to have flat cap. 3 years from now, I think the salary cap is going to go up, 40% at least from where it is now.
Yeah, so he's going to get paid.
He's going to get paid, and I would love the Blackhawks to. I think it'd be silly to be like, a team that hasn't been in the playoffs for 4 years is worrying about how a player plays in the late stage of a playoff series. Hey, I'd love to see him in the late stage.
Worry about that in 2 years. Yeah.
Worry about that when we get to the playoffs in 2027, 28.
Right.
Let's not turn ourselves off to a really good two-way forward that can be, that can turn it around. I think also it could be a maturity thing. Maybe it's just the market thing. And also, I'm sure you guys heard this news. Chris Johnson talked about it. Mitch Marner talked about having his home address leaked by fans and being followed home and his family being threatened and people calling out his family. That's garbage. And that would hurt me. That would hurt anyone. Yeah. So if he goes to a market, to death. So if he goes to a market like Chicago where you don't have that pressure because there's 3 cups in recent memory, and you're on a rebuilding team.
And nobody can watch games on cable, so you're fine.
No one can watch
it. No one see it. Exactly.
Yeah. So it'd just be silly. I am all in on getting Marner this offseason at his asking price, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
No, absolutely. I mean, will Marner sign with the Blackhawks? Probably not. There's so many teams out there, but if you're not going to get it, if you're suggesting that the Blackhawks should not get in on this and not get in on the game for a 27-year-old 100-point guy, that's just dumb. That is rocks stupid.
The Hawks offered more money to Gensel than Tampa Bay did last offseason. He just took the opportunity to go play Tampa Bay. It's not like the Hawks aren't trying to get a big fish. They are. People saying that they shouldn't get him are idiotic.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. It's just silly. You need to at some point pay money. You need to pay free agents that are in their prime, that are not way past their prime for what they did before Christ, and establish a culture of paying free agents and making it a free agent destination. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
And so if it takes overpaying Mitch Marner, a 27-year-old who will get 100 points,
yeah. And I'll add this: if you're under the genuine belief that you don't want to pay Marner this year because you have the belief that McDavid will be available next summer, you are out of your effing depth.
That drives me crazy. He's
not going to be available.
Never be available. Kaprizov, everyone's saying this. These guys have 15 months to re-sign with their current club.
Yeah.
And those negotiations will be going on.
Stan Bowman's an idiot, but he's not dumb enough to let Connor McDavid leave Edmonton.
Oh, that'd be great if he did that.
He's getting a blank check.
Yeah.
And also, he's 4 wins away from going to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. He's in the best situation. He has the best teammate in the NHL right now, Leon Draisaitl. Yeah. There's no reason to leave.
No.
Well, here's what I will say, because I was originally a non I guess not believer, but I guess I wasn't one who wanted to push for Marner. Mm-hmm. I've come around on it. I'm still a Sam Bennett guy also, would love to get him, knowing that if you get Marner, I'm not sure how much else you can do in the free agent market. And I think this team is more than one player away. Mm-hmm. That said, if we believe Marner is probably going to go elsewhere, maybe a team closer to winning, like in Anaheim, if we believe that one, he wants to go to, or if the Rangers clear cap room and make some sort of a run for him, then maybe there. I do think, and I sort of mentioned this earlier to you guys in terms of when we were talking about McDavid on our group discussion, is that I do think because next year's free agent class is so good, I think it's July 1st when these guys are eligible to sign extensions. So therefore, I think, these teams should probably know who is going to be re-signing and extending or who's not going to be, because I think these teams will probably be scared if they went into the season just in their walk year without having an extension. What are you going to wait till the deadline? I think if you're a team, you're better off. Well, if you're a team, you're better off having 30 other teams to bid against each other versus a handful of contenders, And so therefore, is it a possibility with all the assets that the Hawks have that they could find out that somebody, McDavid is probably not going to be available, but you never know because he may not want to sign an extension, or whoever else is available may not want to sign an extension. Can they trade for that person? I'm just throwing that out there because I do think that that's a very, very possible story here.
Oh, I think it's totally realistic. I think, they're not going to get – the Blackhawks aren't going to get to the cap ceiling with free agents this summer. It's just not going to happen. They'll be lucky to land one big name and then hopefully, some supporting guys.
Yeah.
But
can I have a hot take, though?
Sure.
I think they can still get Marner and go for the hot tickets the next summer because here's the salary cap projections.
Yeah,
right now it's $88 million. Going into next season, it jumps to 95.5. The next season, 104. The season after that, 113.5 million. A team like the Blackhawks could realistically go after Marner, clear up cap the next summer, even with the Nazar and Bedard's cap hits that will come up, and still go big fish hunting. This team doesn't have a bad contract.
Who else are they paying right now? They're not paying anybody.
Shea Weber.
Well, yeah,
and that was exactly my point. Is they're still going to have a lot of money.
Yeah, because Vlasic's deal is so team friendly.
Yeah,
like that. Like Bedard and Nazar's extensions will be pricey, but that's the cost of doing business. And even then, you're still going to have way more money to go get one of these guys. Mm-hmm. What I would caution against, and what Bardo was bringing up, is if they know the guy's gonna not re-sign and gonna trade him at the deadline, make sure you know he's gonna sign with you. Don't have another Rantanen situation where they traded him to Carolina,
100% agree.
And then so you've got to know 100% that he'd be willing to sign.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking right now at the list that some people tweeted out, but it's if there's a guy like Kaprizov or Kyle Connor, I know they're division rivals, but those, or an Adrian Kempe, they're available.
Ooh,
and
Ooh,
I mean, all of a sudden, if these guys become available, why not say, okay, you know what? We'll put together a package, but we want assurances that he's going to sign that extension with us, once his contract's up, or just do it this summer. So he plays out his final year and then the new money kicks in. Yeah. I think it's totally viable. I mean,
and what if instead of let's say they don't get Mitch Marner, but what if they go all in and they go, we're going to get Nikolai Ehlers, we're going to get Brock Besser? You're still a better hockey team.
For sure.
Fine.
I think that 100%.
Totally.
Yeah. Like both of those guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Yeah. Go after the big names as soon as you can. And go after multiple big names.
Yeah. I think they went after the big name last offseason in Gensel. I don't think this team is shy about going after.
No, not at all. I'm just, I guess the point being is the fools out there, they're saying don't go after Marner. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and hopefully one domino falls. If they get one big name,
all they need to do is get one.
They got Marian Hossa, and then dominoes started falling.
Yeah. Could change.
And listen, it's a credibility thing too.
Yeah, and listen, a $7-year, $13.5 million contract is big, and a $95.5 million cap hit. It's suddenly less than exactly 10% in 2 years.
Yeah,
it's exactly 10% of $113.5 million.
At which point, Mitch Marner's 29 years old.
Yeah, he's still in his prime.
Yeah. And theoretically, the prospects, hopefully, a bunch of them will be able to cycle through where you still won't have to. If you have a guy that you don't think is worth the money he wants, you could cycle somebody in from the draft pool or your prospect pool. That's how the good teams do it.
Yeah.
I think people also forget Mitch Marner, how good he was in the Four Nations.
Oh, he was a dog.
He was one of Canada's best players.
Oh yeah.
In game winning.
I have no belief that he's not clutch. I just believe he might not be clutch in Toronto because the pressure.
Yeah.
And remember, Toronto's his hometown team. Like, he grew up a Toronto fan. That might play into his psyche.
Yeah. That would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, he had the overtime winning goal against Sweden to start off the Four Nations, 2 assists in the championship game, including the game winner. I mean, he's a real hockey player, and he's 27. So anyway, if Mitch Marner's on the market, the Hawks should pursue. That's our point, folks. Now, let's get into the future. Let's talk about the draft. Blackhawks have the number 3 overall pick. Before we set the stage, Jimmy's going to get into 2 prospects tonight. We're going to talk about them. But let's set the stage a little bit. There's 2 players that will probably go 1 and 2. And that's Matthew Schaefer and that's Michael Misa. Outside chance, and it seems like it's becoming more outside than we originally hoped, that Michael Misa will be available. But it would really, I don't know, considering that no one can really nail down picks, kind of 3 through 5, 3 through 6. And it's kind of, it's anyone's guess who Chicago might take at 3. The idea of Misa being available just seems less and less. I mean, he seems the best forward in the draft. Bardo, last time we podcasted, talked about the idea of James Hagens maybe being a hometown boy being drafted by the Islanders. That was hot take early on. It seems to have kind of drifted a little bit. More people are saying, look, they're going to take Schaefer. He's the best player on the board. So with that, there are so many names that are coming up for the Blackhawks. First of all, I do want to say this. Folks, all of you that wanted Demidov last year and thought that the Blackhawks were fools to take Artem Levshunov at number 2, imagine if they had the number 3 pick this year and they did not take Artem Levshunov last year as a defenseman. It'd be with a huge void in not a void in D prospects. They've got some good D prospects, but they needed that number 1 D prospect. They got him in Levshunov. So I don't want to hear that. Talking too fast. I'll slow down. Anyway, we've heard some names out there. Anton Frondel could be a good name for the Hawks. The Finn, we all really like him. Plays hard, plays fast. Porter Martone's name is being thrown out there a lot, but it doesn't seem like maybe that's not the right fit. He doesn't really fit into KD's skating philosophy. He's also right-handed, and you've got Bedard right-handed, you've got Nazar right-handed. It really seems like that a left-handed player and hopefully a left-handed pivot, because they need to figure out the middle in the event that Sasha Boisvert doesn't end up being that left-handed pivot of the future. North Dakota, their last year's pick at number 19. Is it 19 or 18? 18. 18th overall, Sasha Boisvert? Can't remember.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I can't remember.
Headed to BU next year. With that in mind, one name that keeps coming up is Caleb Desnoyers. And it is, to all of you American hockey fans out there, it is spelled Caleb Desnoyers. But it is in fact Caleb Desnoyers, who plays in the Q, in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for the Moncton Wildcats, and just won MVP of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Jimmy's going to talk a little bit about him, and then maybe an at-large pick that a lot of people aren't talking about from Brantford, Jake O'Brien. Another good forward up there. We've had Brantford players before. He will definitely be available at number 3. They could even trade back for him if they really felt like it, if that was in the cards. But Jimmy, what do you have for us on Jake O'Brien, and what do you have for us on Caleb Desnoyers?
All right, let's start with Jake O'Brien. I want to start. Can I? Oh, I'm not going to start with that.
Sweet.
Let's start with measurement. Let's start with measurements here. We got 6'2", 170 pounds. He's a right-handed shot, and he is a center. Let's see. Statistically, last 2 years, OHL Brantford. Last year, he had 64 points in 61 games. This year, big jumps, 98 points in 66 games. In terms of prospect rankings, most of the rankings I saw, I got this from Elite Prospect. I see like 12 from Consolidated, 10th from Elite Prospect. Bob McKenzie had him 9th. Craig Button had him 10th. And Rachel Dory, I believe that's how you pronounce her name.
She's great, yeah.
Yeah. He had him at 10th. That was on her May 10th draft preview. Here's a quick thing from Hockey Writer's scouting report. This is from, I don't know how to say his name, Peter Barachny, whatever. I'm going to call him Peter. This is on his scouting report of.
Thanks a bunch, Peter.
Yeah. This is from his scouting report, March 28th, 2025. He said, when you think of a player that has some of the best playmaking skills in the draft, Brantford Bulldogs center Jake O'Brien instantly comes to the forefront, and this season was evident of that. O'Brien is the ideal player that you want in an extremely intelligent two-way playmaking centerman. He's a leader with his on-ice play and is a constant play driver when he has the puck. The combination of his high-end IQ, playmaking vision, patience, and deceptiveness he brings with the puck is what makes him dangerous and extremely difficult to contain in the open ice and high danger areas. So, based on his scouting report, this is what Hockey Writers had for strengths and weaknesses. He's strong, patient, and has a good offensive vision. Excellent playmaker. He's a two-way guy, deceptive and elusive with the puck. He's an offensive catalyst, and he's strong with his compete level. His weakness, he really needs to add muscle. He's pretty slight. He's only 6 foot, as I mentioned. He's 180 pounds wet. And for a centerman, he's not really good at the dot. I think I saw he was like sub 40% at the dot. Like I'm talking Connor Bedard in the NHL levels of bad at the center circle. So that's a big place for him to improve. So in terms of comparisons, I got this from both Chase Windsor from Last Word on Sports and Rachel Dory. They have him kind of in that Ryan O'Reilly, Matt Barzal kind of play. He's a point-producing top 6 center. That's what they see him as, with a little bit of first-line ability. I would say he kind of have to squint and tilt if you want to see this guy as like a first-line center. I would be surprised. A lot of the scouting reports say middle 6 to top 6, and that tells me he's probably more than likely a second-line center at the NHL level, which is not bad.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned at 3rd overall. I wouldn't really be sold on a guy whose expectations is a second-line center. So kind of like final notes on Jake O'Brien. He's a playmaking center. He projects to be a middle 6 center, second-line upside. If everything goes well, maybe a first-line center, but I doubt it. He really needs to add size in order to translate to the NHL. Also, for a center, he's really not effective at the dot, as I mentioned. Plus, he's a massive riser. I think if you had checked scouting reports back in like October, he's in the mid-20s. Now he's like scraping top 10. So he's a very, very much an in-season riser. Yeah. So that's kind of what I got from Jake O'Brien. I'll open the floor to anything else if you guys have any thoughts.
What's on his skating? Like,
for one take there. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, what does everybody say about his skating? Because I know that's a big priority with KD and his picks, like skating, speed. What do they say about his skating? I didn't see.
The biggest word I hear when it comes to Jake O'Brien skating is elusive. That doesn't tell me he's fast, but it mostly tells him he's smart. Like he knows where to go. He takes a smart route when he's on the ice. He's not like an Oliver Moore where he's going to blow past you just in a straight line, but he's going to get in the right position and he's not going to waste energy with or without the puck.
I mean, I like the idea of him. I mean, he sounds like a pretty good player. If you're Kyle Davidson, can you keep going after Brantford's whole team?
No.
I mean, you've got Nick Lardis, you've got Vanaker. Is it just like, we just love Brantford so much, we're going to put all of our stock into that? I mean, that'd be a huge miss if these guys don't work out.
Yeah. And I mean, as I mentioned earlier, for a 3rd overall pick, I don't want a guy who's like, you have to squint and tilt to see first line upside. Like I expect first line upside for a top 5 pick, especially with a forward. Yeah. Like, would I be all over this guy for picking like 8th, 9th, 10th?
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But of all the guys in name consideration, I'm not high on Jake O'Brien for the Blackhawks.
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, great. He could end up being a great player. I don't know if he's the guy at number 3. This is an interesting. Lord Hossa wrote in. Lord Hossa, so hope you're still listening out there. Love to see KD capitalize on the Hagen's hometown connection. Trade up package with 3rd overall on the Islanders for the own 2026 second round and 2025 Toronto pick /D prospect. I wouldn't say no necessarily, but I don't know. The Islanders, they really, that organization is going through such a transition right now, and no Lou Amorello. I don't see them trading that pick. Just considering, what's going on in their organization. If you have the number 1 overall pick, regardless of what that draft pool is going to be, you want to hold on to that for marketing for a lot of different reasons.
There's also something to be said about marketing with the hometown kid right there.
I know that's the sword, that the hill Bardo's going to die on. You still think it's really going to happen?
I don't think it's. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm saying it's still possible.
Oh yeah.
Well, and they don't know who's making the pick right now.
Well,
that's I was about to say.
Well, yeah, there's that.
So maybe ownership's making the pick, and they're like, we're going to take the hometown kid to energize the fan base.
Going back to the Jake O'Brien thing. The one thing that I was thinking about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League just not really of the same stature as, say, the NCAA and some of the other junior leagues? I always remember, like, there's always like
that's what they're saying, Bardo.
Yeah, what's that?
That you're right. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, that to me always is kind of a red flag. Like you could get these guys kind of in the second. What's that?
Sorry, I said you get them, Oz.
There you go. I think if you, I just lost my train of thought. I think these guys in the Quebec Major Junior League, unless it's like a Mario Lemieux who we've seen, et cetera, to me, there's just guys that are there that are just these fast risers that just go on a hot streak. And then to get a center that's 6'2" and 170, I mean, he's lighter than Bedard. Bedard's 5'11" and what, 180, 185?
Yeah. So you're talking about Denway right now?
No, I'm talking about Jake O'Brien.
Jake O'Brien plays.
Jake O'Brien's in Brantford in the OHL.
Well, then fuck it. Then I screwed that up. I think we were talking
no.
But that's right, Bardo.
We're about to
get transition.
We're about.
Yeah, I would agree with you on Caleb in that regard.
Yeah.
However you pronounce his name.
I could have sworn you had that up there.
Caleb Dewey, we're going to talk about in a minute here. He is in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, known as a non-checking league, not the toughest league. I think that, historically, the majority of first-round picks and second-round picks, high picks from Canadian major junior hockeys are from the OHL and the WHL.
Yeah.
It's not considered, a lack of physicality has always been a concern. It was a huge, it was not a concern to your point when Mario Lemieux was picked because he was that good. It was a huge concern when Mike Bossy was picked.
Right. But going back to Jake O'Brien, just his physical profile, that would really concern me. And I agree, Jimmy, in terms of him being maybe a middle six player. I'm not even sure if he's ever going to be a center. If he's ever going to be that slight, because I think he could get blown off the puck. But yeah, I mean, I just no chance he goes at 3 overall. No chance.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people lately, the talk has been, Jimmy, to move on to your slides. A lot of the talk has been about Caleb Desnoyers, possibly being someone that the Blackhawks are going to pursue out of Quebec Major Junior, out of Moncton, a natural center, left-handed pivot, pretty good skater. Jimmy, what's the report on this guy?
All right. I got that. If you hear a train in the background, that's just a train in the back. So.
It's a train. Yeah, it's a train in the back.
So here's some measurements, some quick stats, some prospect rankings. 6'2", 178 pounds. He is a left-handed shot, which is something the Blackhawks do value with their glut of right-handed shots. And he's also a center. As Bardo mentioned, 178. He's a skinny, small guy out there, especially for 6'2". He is 2 inches taller than Jake O'Brien, and he weighs less than him, if that just gives you an idea of just how slight he is. However, his point production, especially this year, really soared, especially at the goal scoring end. 35 goals, 49 assists. He really picked it up this year. In terms of prospect ranking, across the board, he's just slightly higher than Jake O'Brien. Consolidated ranking had him 8th, elite prospect 9th. Bob McKenzie really likes him. He has him at 6th. Craig Button has him at 7th. And Rachel Dory on May 8th had him 9th. Now, what did hockey writers have to say about him? This is what Justin had to say. I'm not going to attempt to say his last name because Guillaume Pietro. I'm going to go with that.
That's pretty good.
I'm going to call him Justin G. On May 15th, when he wrote his report, he said Desnoyers is able to put up these numbers largely because of his extremely deceptive playmaking. He can pass from anywhere on the ice, constantly looking to find teammates in high danger areas. The only slight knock on him is that he can work to improve his passing efficiency. He's a risk taker in this way, but his failures usually just lead to clears up to the neutral zone. Nevertheless, he is super smart and skilled as a passer, both inside the offensive zone and off the rush. He could seriously flourish in this area at the professional level. While his offense is easy to rave about, he holds his own in all three zones. He's strong in transition and capable as a puck carrier and is involved defensively, which is good. While his frame could use a bit of rounding out, he still wins board battles, shows physicality, and forces turnovers. He could be more dominant, but as is, there are areas to you feel good about. Desnoyers is an elite play driver as well. So the strengths, sensational. They call it, quote, sensational hockey IQ, elite playmaking, gets to the goal-scoring areas, effective in transition, high-end play drive. But his weaknesses, as we saw, his frame is slight, and he's not the most efficient. He takes risks. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And my big concern, I'll push in here, my big concern is maybe he gets away with these risks in Quebec Major Juniors.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can get away with it at a higher league. I think he obviously isn't going to the NHL after being drafted. But I would love to see this guy go somewhere else other than Quebec Majors. I'd love to see him go. Thank you, Jeff. I'd love to see him go in like the OHL. I'd adore if he went to the NCAA. I'd love to see him play college. I would just thanks. Okay, we got Patrick Kane.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. That's my big knock on him to go along with the weaknesses Justin has for him. It's just I'd like to see him with better competition. Before I really see how smart he is with his risks. So comparisons and projections. I got a couple more. Rachel Dory gave him 2, and I'm shocked at them. Patrice Bergeron and Jonathan Toews.
That's bold.
That is really bold. She said some have quietly compared him to those two.
I do like Rachel a lot, but
that is bold. That is really bold. Now, Chase Windsor.
How do you quietly compare someone to those two players?
There's nothing quiet about that.
Nothing quiet about that.
You whisper it.
And the thing about those two players, too, they were big and burly, and they were fast to go big and burly. Like Jonathan Toews and Patrice Bergeron, they were rocks that went 100 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, he's 18. Of course, he could round out with like a professional nutritionist.
Bergeron really changed his game. I mean, he can do it all, but I think that I don't think anyone thought he was going to be as defensive as a pivot as he ended up becoming. But anyway,
very cool.
That would be cool. I don't know.
And then other ones that pretty surprising. There's one I think is most accurate. This is from Chase Windsor, last Word on Sports. He also did Jake O'Brien. He gave him the Mark Stone, Sean Couturier comparison. I like the Couturier one.
Yeah, Couturier, that tracks.
That's right.
But his next sentence, he says they might not necessarily be as good as either of these players, which is like, okay, then what the hell is he, a fourth liner? I mean, come on.
I don't know. Jonathan Toews.
Because here's the thing, too. You know who plays a Sean Couturier game and like a Mark Stone, Jonathan Toews, Patrice Bergeron game? Marcus Kruger did in his prime. Like Dave Bolin did in his prime, but they were third and fourth liners. So I need to know more. Like, are they similar or are they these guys? Can they?
I was going to say they weren't also third overall picks either. So
yeah. So to get to our last slide, final notes. Kind of like with Jake O'Brien, he's a playmaking center. He's a good combination of speed, height, and intelligence. I think he's the most raw of the guys we're going to end up talking about in terms of third overall pick projections.
Mm-hmm.
He has, I called it a very high but very blurry ceiling. I think his ceiling, bold take, I think of all the guys after Misa in terms of forward, I think he projects to have the highest ceiling of all those forwards, except I have no idea the chances of that. It's absurd. I think for Caleb, my best comparison is, man, I don't have, not a comparison, but I think he is the highest risk, high reward guy available at 3. Yeah. I think if he works out and the Blackhawks develop him well, he is a first line Jonathan Toews, Patrice Bergeron, two-way center, game changer. My God, how did this guy drop to 3 kind of pick?
Well, yeah, that's what
if not, he's Michael Del Cole.
Right.
And that was, I mean, Michael Del Cole, similar thing, kind of like big, tall guy coming out of his draft year, he played a two-way game. He was super elusive. He was super exciting and didn't translate in the NHL. And he went, what, 4th, 5th overall to the Rangers? Something like that. So that's another thing about him. So high-end second-line center. He has first-line upside. I think that's why I put him well over Jake O'Brien. He has that first-line upside that I don't think O'Brien has. And lastly, of course, very slight at only 178 pounds. To go along with that, the Quebec Major Junior League, I worry about its level of competition, especially on the defensive side. It almost has USHL levels of defensive talent.
Well, yeah, I mean, this, I don't know. I guess with the number 3 overall pick, you never know when this kid is going to be NHL ready. Mm-hmm. And I think in this case, this would be someone that I would hope they'd throw him into the NCAA somewhere.
Yeah, like I mentioned, if the Blackhawks were to draft him, I don't want him going back to the Quebec Major Junior Leagues next year. I want him to face better defensive competition.
Right.
Well, and Chris Peters talked about him a little bit too. Ben Pope referenced him in an article saying he has a strong work ethic and consistency, which also aligns with the Hawks' usual preferences. Peters says he would be a hand-to-glove fit for the Hawks. Very noticeable every game, regardless of whether he scores or not. Just plays the game loud, and he's like that about him. So Peters is high on him. Chris Peters is high on him.
I just wonder how much they're actually weighing the competition that they're playing in the league that they're playing in when they make these assessments.
I'm sure it is. I mean, there's no way you can't. I mean,
I agree with you. They just don't say it out loud. Like
they never will. Kids, you're never going to publicly badmouth a league of a guy you might draft. You're not going to.
No, I'm just saying, like, why can't somebody like a Chris Peters say, like, well, the competition, as you know, is a little bit weaker, relative to the other.
He says, well, still the QMJL is a weaker league, so it's hard to determine how much of those 84 points mean. He does say that in the post.
Okay, well, then there you go.
And Kalab would be the first QMJL forward drafted in the top 10 since Lafreniere in 2020.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, that worked out real well. So yeah, I mean,
we can also see what he does in the Memorial Cup because they're going to play. He's going to play better defensive competition in that.
That's true. That'll help. Mm-hmm. And they got the combine coming up in early June, and a lot could change there. I don't know. I look forward to on one of our future pods when we start talking about Anton Frondell. I mean, Corey Pronman in the Athletics latest article, the New York Times article, had Frondell going to the Blackhawks at number 3. And this Finn is a bulldog. He's a bulldog. I don't know if any of you have seen clips of this guy play, but his enthusiasm for the game, he looks like he's ready to go through a wall. He's fast. He's big already. He's 6'1",
200. I mean, jeez.
For an 18-year-old. I mean, that's a beast.
Andy, I don't want you to spoil because I will have another presentation.
No, this is only a preview. This is a trailer. Yeah. It's a trailer.
I will give a little spoiler. I'll give a little spoiler on Frondell.
I still got some stuff.
Yeah.
His shot is a rocket, and he's got good vision too. He's just one of those fly by the seat of your pants players.
And he skate.
And he can skate, and he's just so hungry. Okay. Like his passion. He looks like he loves hockey. I mean, all these guys love hockey, but this is something where every time he's out there, he just looks like he plays with such passion and grit. Be tough to pass up on him.
He plays in the SHL, right? That's a pro league, right?
He does. He plays pro hockey right now.
I'm already in love with that.
But yeah, he was. I mean, the things that Marcus Kruger was saying about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was like, he's curious. He asks questions. He wants to get better every day. He's a rink rat. So that's
he's a rink rat. He's got it.
He listens to our podcast.
He must.
Correct.
But yeah.
Yeah, Pronman called him the top player in Europe. And if that's the case, sign me up.
Yeah. Little spoiler alert. If Misa's not available, I'll probably mention this when we get to Frondell and my next Frondell presentation. Frondell's my guy at number 3. I mean it. Yeah. I am a Frondell fan club president. Like Bard, you're with Nolan Allen. I'm all about the Frondell. I think if he's available at 3 and Misa isn't, I'm all in on Frondell.
Yeah. I can pronounce Frondell's name. So
I don't know. Denway, fine. I just don't. I feel like Frondell's a guy you'd get really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Denway, you go, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And I don't, Smarter people, smarter hockey minds than us are making these decisions. They're actually watching these guys live and talking to them, which is always, but I don't know. Number 3, they're going to get some value with number 3.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it'll be a Jonathan Taves or a Kirby Doc.
Or
I will say this about, the whole idea, and Jeff, I'm sure will chime in on this one. If Schaefer goes one of the Islanders, I do think there is a chance that they swap picks with San Jose. I do think that's on the table.
Could be.
Because if they want Misa that badly and they see him as substantially better than Frondell or whoever they have third, I do think there's a world where they take some assets and move them over.
To San Jose?
Absolutely.
What do you think the freight to move up one spot will cost, though?
At least $325, 34, and probably another second, maybe Dallas.
Or are you talking like a defensive prospect?
I don't know what the price will be, but if they love this guy that much, then yeah, I think they would move. I think they would do it.
So you're talking like a Ricky Williams type trade here.
Not a Ricky Williams, just not give up the whole draft kind of thing. I do think it might cost them 25, or it could be both seconds or something like that. I could see a world with that, or a second and something next year.
I mean, they have the assets to do it. So if
you don't think the Hawks are going to be good next year, take their pick next year then.
That's true.
Take their second round pick next year.
I just wonder. I know the narrative is trading Kevin Korchinski, but I'm just wondering if San Jose, because they're kind of devoid of defensive prospects, if they ask for one of our defensive prospects.
Possible.
As long as it's not Sam Renzel, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Well, Sam Renzel, he's not going anywhere.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's just, again, it depends. If they love Michael Misa way more than whoever they can get at third, then I think there's a world where they could do it if the price is okay for them.
I mean, I think it really comes down to the new guys in charge of the Islanders. Like, it really does. Because if Bergevin comes in and let's say, Shanahan comes in, you got the new president of, hockey ops, and Bergevin come in, and if you get the feeling that it's like, oh, like they're going to stick and pick with the hometown kid, then you're good. Because Schaefer's going to. If Higgins is one, Schaefer is going to. San Jose is not going to pass up on Schaefer. They're not going to take with that Schaefer.
And I will say, building on what you were saying about Shanahan just came off of building a team. I know he didn't win a cup, but he built a team that had success in the regular season, got to the playoffs every year based on having high impact forwards. They didn't have shit on defense other than Morgan Riley, who I don't even think he drafted. No. So yeah, I mean, to me, if he's going to go with that blueprint and say, I'm going to build, some big time scoring forwards and make us a fast team more than a defensive minded team, then I still think it's possible that he goes Higgins.
Interesting.
We're going to keep the propaganda alive for Higgins to New York. It's never going to die.
No. Well, don't forget, folks, that with that Toronto loss, what we hadn't mentioned yet is that Blackhawks pick moves up now, which is very exciting. Does that is it 25 overall now? That's where the pick is? So their second first-round pick.
Yep.
Will be now 25th overall, so they've still got 2 first-round picks. Who knows what they're going to do with that? At the same time, I think that might be a bargaining chip for something else going on.
Yeah. It'll be very exciting on draft day when we have our live Rinkcast draft watch party hosted by myself. What a plug-in, am I right, John?
Are you going to eat pancakes? Is what I want to know.
Nah, I'm gonna have some bevs. We're gonna have a good time.
And side note: if teams want pick 25, you can find a player that takes a little bit long to develop, but seems to be a good prospect in Sam Renzel, like they did at 25. So,
dang it, you took one of my draft day trivia answers. I was gonna say, what's the Blackhawks history at pick 25? It's literally just Sam Renzel.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say what's the 25th pick?
Certainly glad there's a 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? 15, and then we have to name the 15.
Yeah. Don't worry. I have a handful of draft day trivia questions like ready to go. They all have like one answer. Don't
Good.
worry, I'm not. I've learned my mistake, guys. You don't have to keep bringing it up.
Oh, we will. Oh, we will.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, folks. Well, we've hit the hour mark. Good show tonight, guys. We will be back probably next week with some more draft analysis. Jimmy will touch base too on a little bit of Rockford type stuff. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about in the NHL playoffs too. This is Florida's year yet again. Certainly looked like it last night against the Carolina Hurricanes. And Shane Gothisbeer, when your team is down 5-1 or 5-2, whatever it is, don't shoot the puck at somebody. You made your entire team look stupid. That was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, good stuff tonight. I want to give one quick shout out, if that's cool with you guys. I want to give a shout out to Brooks School hockey player Andrew Martin, who was one of 9 forwards from the state of Massachusetts selected to the U17 National Development Camp in Buffalo, New York, coming up in June. So, Marty, great work, buddy. Hopefully this is just the beginning for you. That's going to be a showcase that every scout in the world is going to be at. And keep skating hard, buddy. That's a really big achievement. So, Andrew Martin, congratulations. Really cool stuff. Anyone else? Any shout outs? Anything else you got going on, fellas?
No. I'm trying to remember who the prospect we're going to cover next week. I'm trying to find that schedule I made. But if I remember correctly, feel free to correct me at any time.
Don't remember.
I think it's either Martone or Higgins for next week.
Either one. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We will cover these prospects.
Yes, we will. I will have more presentations. It'll be great.
All right, folks. Well, until next week, thanks for listening. Go Hawks. Wait for the announcement tomorrow on Jeff Blashill.
My name is Jeff.
My name.
And the rest of the coaching staff.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what's coming. I mean, there will be some new hires. Should be
Derek
interesting.
King will be unemployed.
Yeah, bummer. All right, folks. Andy Campbell, James O'Malley, the Bard, and Sean Fitzgerald. Have a great night and go Hags. See ya.